Hi class, today we're going to be looking at chapter 4, the first part of problem 13. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And you should be able to see Cengage now. This is the first part of problem 4, or from chapter 4, problem 13b. This is part 1 that we're going to be going over today. So let me adjust my screen for you a little bit. And let me adjust mine so I can see what I'm doing here. During the first full week, the payroll department of Omni Corporation is preparing forms W-2 for distribution to its employees, along with their payroll checks on January the 10th. In this problem, you will complete 6 of the forms in order to gain some experience in recording the different kinds of information required. Assume each employee earned the same weekly salary for each of the 52 pay days in 2021, the previous year. Using the following information obtained from the personnel and payroll records of the firm, complete copy A of the 4 forms W-2 reproduced below. On the second half of the problem, you will complete the other 2 W-2s and the W-3 form. So in this video, we're just going to do the first part of this problem, and we're going to complete 4 of the W-2 forms. The form is to be signed by the president, Frank Kent, and is prepared by Vince Roper. And they've given you some company information that you'll need to record on your forms in the second part of this problem. They've also given you some very important information here about how they calculated the federal income tax withholding. They're using the wage bracket method, and what they want you to do is to calculate the annual federal income tax withheld by using the weekly wage bracket table and multiply your answer by 52. In other words, we're going to find the payroll taxes that would be withheld for one pay period, which is weekly, and then we're going to multiply it by 52 weeks in the year to get the annual amount of the federal income taxes. If you don't do it this way, you'll come up with some wrong answers in Cengage, and I don't want you to be frustrated. So make sure that you calculate the annual federal income tax withheld by using the weekly wage bracket table. You find the weekly amount of FIT, and then you multiply it by 52 to get the annual amount. They have given you some employee data in this column here, some payroll data in this column here, and they've given you the annual taxes that were withheld for all of the taxes other than the federal income tax. So in other words, you've got to figure the federal income tax portion of this, because that's what we're doing in chapter 4. And you're also learning how to prepare a W-2 form correctly. They have given you an example to go by for Randy Kellison. They completed the form W-2 for him below. This is the employee data for Randy Kellison that you needed to know that would go into the employer's name and address and their zip code right here. This is the employee's name, first name and initial, and the last name of the employee. So this is an example of a W-2 form that they've completed for you to use as an example for you to go by. All right, so first of all, you would start with the A portion here and enter the employee's Social Security number, and that was given in the instructions. You would also enter the employer's identification number. That too was given in the instructions. And then you'll want to enter the wages and the tips and other compensation, and this you would have to determine. And the wages and the tips and the other compensation is the wages that are the total wages with the amount taken out for if you have a retirement plan. This is the amount before or the amount that's actually taxable for federal income tax purposes. So the first part of this right here, you would have to calculate, and this is how we do it. Notice that he's paid $715 per week. He also has a deduction for a 401k plan. So we have to subtract out the amount of the deduction per week to get the amount that we would calculate for the federal income taxes. So the easiest way to complete the W-2 form to enter in the amount for your wages is to go ahead and take the $715, subtract out the deduction of $50 per week. That will leave you with $665 that's taxable for federal income tax purposes. Then we would multiply that by 52 to get the total wages that would be subject to federal income taxes. So this 34,580 they found by taking the gross wages per week, subtracting what they had withheld for the retirement plan, and then you multiply that by 52. That's how you're going to get 34,580. And once again, we're going to take the $715 per week. We're going to deduct from it what we've put in for our 401k retirement plan for this employee. So 715 minus 50 will give you the weekly amount of earnings that are subject to the federal income tax. Then we multiply that weekly earnings by 52, and that's how they came up with the amount that they entered in box 1 for wages, tips, and other compensation. In box number 2, they're asking you to compute the federal income tax withheld. So again, you're going to take 715, subtract the $50 that's coming out for the 401k plan. $665 is taxable for the federal income tax. You're going to click here to access the wage bracket method. And then we're going to look at Table B, which is your wage bracket method. I'm going to refer back to our problem because I need to know the marital status of this employee. And do you see here that Randy is single? So I need to know the marital status when I'm looking up his amount on the tax tables. So $665 was the amount of wages that were subject to the federal income tax. So I'm going to look down on this first table, and I can see here that the $665 will fit between $660 and $670. So you're going to go all the way over on this table, and it takes a little scrolling here. To get to the single portion. And so again, it's going to take me a little bit of effort to get to the single portion. This is the single portion standard withholding that we're looking at here. And this would be $665. So it fits in this category down here. And so I would pick up the amount of 47 dollars. And so $47 would be multiplied by 52 weeks in the year. Let me check and see if I've got on the right form, or right bracket. Yep, I did. And so the federal income tax is $2,444. So again, the weekly wages was $665 that was subject to federal income tax. Look up on your table for single weekly paid person, the $665. Pick up the amount for the FIT for single, the weekly amount, which was $47. And then you multiply that by 52 weeks in the year. And that's how they're getting the federal income tax that would be entered in box 2 of your W-2 form. To enter information for the Social Security wages, we do not subtract out the amount for the 401k plan. We just leave it as the total amount of gross wages for this employee, which was $715 times 52 weeks in the year. His yearly amount is $37,180. The Social Security tax that was withheld would be calculated on these wages. There may be some rounding errors if you just calculated 6.2% of this to get that. So they've shown you what the actual amount was that was taken out in your instructions. In other words, the Social Security tax that was withheld is given. So this $2,305.16 would be entered into box 4 for this employee. In box 5, the Medicare wages and tips are going to be the same as your Social Security wages. So you just bring that down to box 5. Then you enter in the Medicare tax that's withheld, and that is given. This was the Medicare tax that was withheld for Randy Kellison, $539.24. So that's what's entered here. This person didn't have any Social Security tips or allocated tips. None of this applies to this person. If they did have some dependent care benefits, it would be written here. For box 12, this has to do with retirement plans. So they've entered code D, and I want to show you where you can get that. And I also need to show you how to calculate this amount. Remember, for this employee, they took $50 a week for the 401k plan. So you multiply 50 times 52, and that will give you 2,600, and that's how they got this amount here. So $50, the 401k plan times 2,600, that's what they got here. Now you're going to need to enter this code here. There are codes that you will enter for the different types of amounts that would be entered in box 12. And so I'm going to go to my Cengage ebook, and what you do is you just click on the ebook here, click on Learning Objective 4, and it'll bring it up where the W-2 form starts. And so I've already done this. Well, maybe I haven't, because I was going to show you how to do it. So let me do this. Click on Learning Objective 4, because that's where your W-2 form is, instructions are. And this is in your textbook too. If you've got a hard copy of the textbook, the amounts for the W-2 form, the boxes, are listed in figure 4.9 that begins on page 424. And it ends on page 425. So page 24 and 25 in chapter 4 in your textbook are where you can find this information too. But I thought I would just show you where you could get it if you have an ebook. So don't go backwards, go forwards, I'm sorry. So I was looking for my scroll bar here, but I don't see one. So I'm going to go to the next part here. Okay, just scroll to where it says 4-7A Form W-2, then you'll have a scroll bar up here. And it's telling you information about the W-2 form and how to complete it. So you might want to read over this section carefully. And in figure 4.9, the only way you can get to that is right here where they're talking about figure 4.9. If you expand your table to enlarge it, the enlarged view will bring up what each box represents for this box 12. And so if you look at this, each box of the W-2 form is listed here as to what goes in there. So you can read through some of these. But on that particular one, we were looking at box 12. So the instructions for box 12 say to complete and code this box. We're looking for the code, is what we want to know what the code is. And if you scroll on out there, it tells you how you should enter information in for box number 12. Also, if you scroll down for reference guides for box number 12, they have some codes here for you. These are the codes right here. So if we're talking about a 401k plan, we're talking about code D here, where it says the elective deferrals to section 401k cash or deferred arrangement plans. So this is where they got the D that they entered into the W-2 form in Cengage. So this is code D here. And this amount again was $50 times 52 weeks to get the annual amount of 401k deductions that were made for this particular employee. Also, when you're looking at the W-2 form, in box 13, that 401k plan was a retirement plan. In box 14, they've got a place for other things that you don't have a place for on any other parts of the W-2. And you'll notice that they've written in here, Pennsylvania, PA's Pennsylvania, the state unemployment taxes that were withheld for this person were $22.36. In this chapter, they don't teach you how to calculate the state unemployment tax. That's coming in the next chapter. But they gave you this amount, and you have to record it on the W-2 form because it was a deduction from the employee's pay. And so right here, where they got the state unemployment tax withheld, is $22.36. Now, not all companies have state unemployment taxes withheld. It just depends on which state you're in as to whether or not your employees have to pay state unemployment tax. This just so happens to be Philadelphia, where anybody employed in the state of Philadelphia has to pay a state unemployment tax. Evidently, the state of Philadelphia has a whole lot of unemployment, and so they have to go to individuals to collect tax on this. We'll talk more about state unemployment tax in the next chapter. So basically, they've given you this as an example of Randy Kellison's completed W-2 form. So let's try to do one for Vince Roper. First of all, get familiar with the information for Vince Roper. And Vince Roper was married. He's going to file jointly. He gets paid $9.85 per week. This is his Social Security number. He also has $950 deducted from his paycheck for a dependent care payment. This is one of those other things that you have to list in the other category on the W-2 form. He also has $70 a week deducted for a 401k plan. So first of all, and then he has, then he has the Social Security taxes withheld of this amount, Medicare of this amount, state income tax of this, local income tax of this, state unemployment taxes withheld are this. That's another other thing that we've got here. Actually, there's a box for dependent care payments, and so we'll put that in the box on the W-2 form. But your state unemployment tax withheld goes in that other category, and that's all that we would do for this particular employee. Kind of wish they had given you some blanks between these or marked it a little bit different so you know where it ends. But for Vince Roper, it goes to $70 a week that was taken out in the 401k plan. So let's go to the W-2 form for Vince Roper. And notice in Cengage, they've already put in his social security number, the employer's identification number, his name and address, or excuse me, the employer's name and address. The employee's first name went in here, his address goes here. All that information has been given to you. They've also entered in the information for the state of Pennsylvania and the employer state ID. That was entered in for you. So all you're doing is you're filling in the boxes or the blanks here. So first of all, we need to know how to calculate the wages, tips, and other compensation that goes in box number 1, which are your wages that are subject to the federal income tax. So I'm going to go back to my information here, and we're working on Vince Roper. He's paid $985 per week. So $985 is his gross pay per week. Notice he has $70 he's contributing to the 401k plan per week. So subtract 70 from 985. And that will leave you with $915 in wages that are subject to federal income taxes. You will multiply that by 52 weeks, because there's 52 weeks in a year. And the total amount of wages that are subject to federal income taxes is $47,850. Now make sure you're on the right person. This is Vince Roper, and this is his wages. You can also check your work just to make sure your math is correct. And evidently, I didn't put in the right amount. So let's see. For Roper, it was $985 per week. You got to back out the $70 per week. And that leaves you with $915 that you multiply by 52 weeks. And I got a transposition error in there. So 47,580 is the amount I should have recorded in there. And now it's correct. So check your work as you go through to make sure that your math is correct and that you've entered the correct amount in the box. On the next part, we're going to find the federal income tax withheld. Remember, we want to find the federal income tax for 1 week. Then we multiply it by 52 weeks to get the yearly amount that was withheld. So going back to our information for Vince Roper, 985 minus 70 is $915 that is subject to federal income tax per week. This person is married, filing jointly. You need to know that. You also need to know that this is a weekly pay period and that we're using the wage bracket method. So you click here if you hadn't already done that. And what should open up, that's not what I want to see there. Okay. Let me click on this here. You're going down to tax table B. It is weekly that we're looking at. Enlarge this so you can see what you're doing. You want to have wages, you're looking for wages of $9.15. So it has to be at least $9.15, but less than $9.15. I don't see it on this part of the table here, so I'm going to go to the next part of the table. Which it has to be at least $9.15. So the bracket that I need is from $9.10 to $9.20. This person is married, filing jointly, so it's $45 per week. That is being withheld in FIT. You must multiply the $45 a week by 52 weeks in the year. So 45 times 52 is 2,340. That's going to be your federal income tax withheld. Check your work. And it is correct. Then we'll move to box 3, which is Social Security wages. Now, Social Security wages are your OASDI and your HI portion. And we're going to take the full wages per week, which was $9.85 for this employee. And we're going to multiply that by 52 weeks in a year. And when I did that, I got 51,220. Notice we don't withhold the 401k plan. We're looking at the wages that are subject to Social Security, which are all of his wages. So take the gross pay and multiply it by 52. Check your work, and your Social Security wages are this. To find the Social Security tax withheld, they've calculated that for you. You don't have to calculate it. We learned how to do that last chapter. But you're going to have to go back to Vince Roper, and you're going to pick up the Social Security tax withheld at $3,175.64. Check your work, just make sure you copied it right. And we're okay with that. Your Medicare, your HI portion is equal to the Social Security wages. So 51,220 goes here. Your Medicare tax, I'll just wait and check that in just a moment. Your Medicare tax for this person was $742.56. I'll check my work, just make sure I pull down the correct amount. And then we're ready to enter in box 7, which is Social Security tips. And I don't remember anything about any Social Security tips being mentioned here. So I'm just going to put a 0 in there. And there wouldn't be any allocated tips either. And then we go to box 10, which is dependent care benefits. And that will be in your information for Vince Roper. You can see he had dependent care payment of $950. Make sure you get on the right place. And again, it might be a good idea to check to make sure you've on Vince Roper, as we are here. And that will go there. You're not going to enter anything in for non-qualified plans, so nothing goes there. Let me see if we put a 0 there, if it'll affect anything. But we don't know anything about a non-qualified plan, so nothing should go there. Yeah, it checked it okay. And then in box 12, which is this one, actually box 12 has an A part, a B part, a C part, and a D part to it. And so you just fill it in. First of all, we need to look for the code. And you remember the 401k code was code D for the last employee, so it's going to be the same for this one. You got a drop down list here. We select D. And the amount of the 401k for this employee, it was $70 that they were taking out for the 401k plan. You multiply that by 52 weeks in the year, and that will give you 3,640. And we're going to go back and look to see if there's anything we left off. We recorded this, and we recorded this. And so the rest of this, we need to add to the W-2 form. We've already put in Medicare tax, but we haven't put anything in for state income tax withheld. So state income tax withheld is $1,572.48. And that's box 17. I can't remember what the amount was. So, but let me go back to this, because they've got a place for you to answer something here. And so box 13, we need to go ahead and fill that out. We have a retirement plan that we're working with. That was the 401k plan that we have here. And I don't think there was any other, so we're just going to choose none here, and all of these would be 0 for this employee. And then we can go to the state wages, tips, etc. And the state wages and tips will be equal to, get to the Social Security wages, 51,220. Again, that was the gross pay times 52. The gross pay for this person was $985 times 52. That's how you get 51,220. The state income tax that was withheld was given. Make sure you get on the right person. It's $1,572.48. Your local wages would be the same as your state wages. Your local income tax is given. And the local income tax for Vince Roper is $1,982.76. So we'll check my work. And they didn't like box 14, so let's see. Oh, we did have some state unemployment tax, and that's what goes there. So I apologize to you for that. And that state unemployment tax, let me show you where that came from. It was given right here. So you have to put that in that other box. So this other is to record deductions that you didn't include up in here. So this is the only other one that we had for this particular employee. And the rest of that looks correct. So we'll check my work again. So you can see that we got it all correct here. All right, and then you're going to do basically the same thing for the next problem. And so to save us some time on this, I just want to show you what they have different for this person. So we're going to look at Murray Rodson. That's the next person. He's single. These are his weekly dues. He didn't have any 401k plan adjustments, so all of this will be subject to the federal income tax. He did have some union dues withheld, and so I'll show you where we put the union dues withheld. I believe that's in that other category. So the rest of this is the same as what we've done before. So the only thing that really is different in this case is the union dues. So let's see where we can put the union dues on this particular employee. And you see here they got the union dues for this person, and they've got some state unemployment in the other column. So all of these employees are going to be subject to that state unemployment. So you know that's going to go in the other column for all of them. And that's where they got the amount there. but the union dues had to go in that other column. The rest of this was just exactly as we've done it before. You just need to make sure that you're looking up for him that he's single and it's on $765 per week to record the federal income taxes. Once you have the weekly amount of federal income tax, you multiply it by 52 weeks to get the yearly amount. So let's see if we can look at another one, see if there's any different. Oh yeah. Frank A. Kent, he had some group life insurance that exceeded 50,000. And so he had an extra $262.75 deducted from his paycheck. He also has the 401k plan. So to figure out this one, I'll go ahead and do this whole thing with you so you won't get confused about this one, because I got a couple of different things on here about this where to put this. It won't hurt us to review how to figure out your federal income tax again, because that's mainly what this chapter is about. So let's do this whole Frank A. Kent. I'm going to do all of that for you. So first of all, he's being paid $18.75 per week, and he's married, filing jointly. I like to just jot that down, because when you're flipping back and forth through the table, sometimes it's easy to forget the amounts that you're working with. But $18.75 was his gross wages. Now we can see here that he had $100 that he was contributing to the 401k plan. So I would subtract that $100 to get the taxable wages for FIT. And the amount of that would be $17.75 per week. Once you have the $17.75 per week, you would multiply it by 52 weeks, because there's 52 weeks in a year. And that will give you 92,300. So we're doing Frank A. Kent. And we're looking at box number 1. And the gross wages was $18.75 less your 401k plan wages of $100, gives you $17.75 that is taxable per week for federal income taxes. When you multiply that by 52, it's going to give you 92,300. And I would check my work. Just make sure that's right. And obviously it's not. So 1875 minus 100 times 52 is 92,300. And so I'm in the right person here. So let me go back up, check again. Must have recorded something wrong. Oh yeah, I picked up. Well, let's see. Frank A. Kent, 1875. going to pause this for just a second. I'm resuming it. Hold on just a second. I need to pause this for just a minute. And then I'll come back. Forgotten how to pause it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute. And I'm going to pause the recording, and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, class, I paused the screen for just a moment. I'm going to resume the share screen with you. Hang on just a second while I get it pulled up. All right, and we were working on Frank Kent, who was married filing jointly. And what I had done is I had put in that he had been paid $18.75 per week. I subtracted out the 100 for the 401k plan, and that was correct. It would have been $17.75 per week, and then we multiplied that by 52 weeks, and that would have given us $92,300. But what I also needed to include was right here, this $262.75 should also be included in your box number 1, because anything above $50,000 as far as the cost of life insurance that an employer has been contributing, $50,000 is not considered taxable, but $262.75 is considered to be taxable wages. So in the error that I had earlier, I had written in for this employee, and again, this employee was Kent, Frank Kent. So you make sure you get on the right W-2 form. For wages and tips and other compensation, I had written in $92,300, which was coming up incorrect. And the reason for that is I have to add back in to the $92,300 the amount of the taxable benefit of $262.75 that was paid to this employee. So that $262.75 is a benefit that is going to be paid to the employee because it was over the $50,000 limit for the life insurance or the insurance, the group insurance that was taken out. So it's considered to be compensation, in other words. So you have to add the $262.75 taxable benefit to the amount of wages less the 401k plan amount. So it amounted to $92,562.75 that would go into box number 1. So before, when I had it entered in, I had entered it in incorrectly at $92,300. That's because $262.75 was also paid to this employee. Now, getting back to the federal income tax that would be withheld. What we would do is we would take the gross wages of $1,875, subtract out the amount for the 401k plan, which was $100 per week, and that would leave me with $1,775 that is taxable for federal income tax purposes. So you're going to find on your table, your wage bracket table, the amount for $1,775. And this is in the second weekly table. You got to have enough to cover at least, but less than for your wages. So this is the second table, weekly table here that I pulled up. And the amount was $1,775. So I'm going to go down here, and it's in the bracket between $1,770 and $1,780. This person was married, filing jointly. So $148 is taken out for federal income tax purposes on this particular employee. And that's per week. $148 per week has to be multiplied by $52 to get a total taxable amount of federal income tax withheld at 7696 $7,696. Again, we went to the wage bracket tables. We looked up 1775, which is between 1770 and 1780. And for married filing jointly, we pick up $148 per week, multiply it by 52, and that's how you get this amount right here. I'm going to check my work just to make sure we don't have any other errors in this one. And then we're correct here. For your Social Security wages, box number 3, we've got to put in the fact that we were paying them $1,875 per week. We're going to multiply that by 52, which will give you $97,500. Then we're going to add back to it the $262.75, which was a benefit that was paid to the employee. So it was $9,762.75 is your Social Security wages. And so your Social Security tax that's withheld, the Social Security tax, the 6.2, is going to be on all of the Social Security wages. So 6.2 times this will give you the Social Security tax. But for ease, they have given that to you. So if you'll scroll to where Frank A. Vent was, you can see the Social Security tax withheld was $6,061.29. check your work just to make sure that you have brought it down correctly. And then your Medicare wages and tips are going to be the same as your Social Security tips. Or excuse me, your Medicare wages and tips is going to be the same as your Social Security wages, $97,762.75. And then your Medicare tax was calculated for you, it was given to you. The Medicare tax was $1,417.69. So we're going to record that. $1,417.69. And I'm going to check my work. And then there were no tips on this problem. On this one, let's see if he had any dependent care. I don't believe he did. No dependent care. And there was no non-qualified plan. So I'm going to go on to box 12. And in box 12B, we're going to record code C. And to get that code, you have to look it up like we did before. So you'd have to go to your ebook, look at Learning Objective 4, go to page 24 and 25 in your ebook, figure 4.9, and then expand the box like we did earlier, and you can look it up through the e-box. If you've got a hard copy of your text, look on page 25 of chapter 4, and they have that figure 4.9 for you, and you'll look up the reference guide to box 12 codes, and then you go down and fit the one in that fits the best, which is code C, which is for group term life insurance that's over $50,000. The amount that was over $50,000 was $262.75 that was given. For box 12C, we need to fill in that we have the 401k plan, and the 401k plan had a code of D on it. And again, you can find that in figure 4.9. And the amount would be the yearly amount of the 401k plan that was deducted. It was $100 a week times 52, which would give you $5,200 that would go here. And then in box 13, we have a drop down. Box 13, there was a retirement plan in place. And then in box 14, we have the other income. And this time, this employee only had the state unemployment tax withheld at $58.76. He didn't have any union dues like the other employee did. Just had the state unemployment taxes that were withheld. Let's see where it was. Got to stay on the right W-2 form. Here we go. So the Pennsylvania state unemployment tax that was taken out of this employee's paycheck was $58.76. And then there was nothing else that would have gone in here for line 12. We've got 13 and 14 filled in. So then you'll go to the state wages, tips, etc. And that's going to be the same as your Social Security wages, 97,762.75. So I'm just copying that basically from here, 97,762.75. The state income tax, they figured it for you. It was given. So the state income tax for Frank A. Kent was $2,993.12. And your local wages is going to be the same as your state wages. And your local income tax was given. The local income tax for Frank A. Kent was $3,774.68. So we're going to write that down. $3,774.68. And then I'm going to check my work. And it looks like I've entered the wrong amount for the state wages. Okay. Let's see if 97,500 will take care of it. Yeah, so they wanted 97,500. They didn't include that cafeteria benefit there, or that life insurance benefit. So it's 97,500. That's what they wanted here. All right. Okay, so finally, we've got all of this entered in as it should be. And then on the last one that they have for this particular part of the problem, you would do one for I think that was it, wasn't it? That was the last one. Yeah, that was the last one for this problem. So we're going to stop here because I know this was a long video, and we'll have to do another video for the second part of this problem. So we'll stop sharing this with you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.